the HSBC Arena in Buffalo, New York. It is game number 2 of our men's quarterfinals at the 2001 HSBC MAAC tournament. The Loyola Greyhounds against the top seeds, the Iona Gales. And we check out the brackets, and that reflects our first quarterfinal. The Red Foxes survived. Marist moves on to round number 2, beating Ryder in the 4-5 game. And we've got the game coming up, 1 versus 9. Loyola with a big win yesterday to survive to make it into the quarterfinals. And welcome back, everybody. Along with Jack Armstrong, this is Doug Sherman. Gales head coach Jeff Ruland, his team coming in on a 3-game losing streak, unprecedented in the 20-year history of this league, but Coach Ruland says we're just as apt to come in and lose this first game as we are to go out and win 3 in a row and win the title. He just has no idea.
Well, that's the wacky world of MAAC basketball. I don't think anyone has any idea, but it promises to be a good game. Loyola coming off a tremendous effort yesterday, upsetting Fairfield. It promises to be a good one.
And a big part of that effort for the Greyhounds is the 2001 MAAC Rookie of the Year, John Reimold.
Well, John Reimold's a guy that can really hurt you on the perimeter. Tremendous shooter, can take the ball strong to the basket, playing with a tremendous amount of confidence, and is the go-to man for the Loyola Greyhounds, getting it done in a lot of different ways for Scott Hicks.
Meanwhile, inside for the Iona Gales, Nakia Miller, one of the all-around players in the conference. He says if he was 40 pounds heavier, he'd be a first-round draft pick in the NBA. We don't know about that, but he certainly is a skilled player.
When you talk about skilled player, he's the top shot blocker in the MAAC conference, and he's got an assortment of moves inside. Sweet jump hook, a little bit off balance inside, and then Earl Johnson doing the job at the point guard position. Can take the ball off the bounce and go to the basket, as well as knock down the open shot on the perimeter, shoot 50% from three-point range for the Iona Gales.
A couple of seniors hoping to go out with a bang. Our keys to the game brought to you by Citizens Communications. First, Jack, for the Greyhounds.
Well, no question for Loyola. It's going to be so important to take care of the basketball, take quality shots, and tempo. This cannot be a game that goes up and down. Loyola, not a real deep squad.
On the flip side, as they shut out the lights here in the arena, what do the Gales need to do, Jack?
Don't worry about the fact that you lost 3 games in a row to finish the season. It's a new ball game. You win 3 in a row, you go to the NCAA tournament, and defensive intensity. Iona, in their wins, they only give up 67 points. In their losses, they give up 83. Play the D today.
They've got the lights out for the lineups. When we come back, we'll give them to you and have the start of Iona versus Loyola on the MAAC Television Network. This game is brought to you in part by the Pepsi-Cola Company, the joy of Pepsi. By HSBC, your world of financial services. Continental Airlines, work hard, fly right. Citizens Communications, the official telecommunications company of the MAAC. Budget, get out of the ordinary with budget. And by the New York Lottery, New York Lotto. Will you be ready if it happens to you? The starting lineups brought to you by Citizens Communications. For the Loyola Greyhounds, the number 9 seed, Delaney Southall, Brian Carroll, John Reimold, B.J. Davis, and Damian Jennifer coming off of arthroscopic knee surgery in mid-February. Back and ready to go head-to-head with the number 1 seeded Iona Gales, Diary Wilson, Greg Jenkins, Nakia Miller, Phil Grant, and Earl Johnson. A star-studded lineup, to say the least, for head coach Jeff Ruland in his 3rd season at his alma mater. Class of 1980 for Mr. Ruland, and he'll be matching wits with Scott Hicks, a newcomer to the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference in his first season with the Greyhounds after a successful 3-year run at the University at Albany, elevating that program to D1 and trying to resurrect the Greyhounds program here this year and in the years to come in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Now we send it over to David Scott. How are you, David?
I'm doing well, Doug and Jack. And Jack, you know how important it is when you're scouting teams for this tournament, especially. Tony Childs, the assistant from Iona, was in charge of this scout, as they call it. He's 8-0 this year when he scouts the games. If you believe in anything, if you're a Gales fan, believe that Tony Childs is going to bring you good luck. Back to you guys.
Very nice. And we know coaches and players are superstitious.
That's a great stat. I love it.
That's a good one.
And if they win today, Tony Childs will be in charge of Marist tomorrow.
You got that right.
Even if it wasn't his scout.
The guys in charge
I tell you
of the
what,
game.
Assistants keep track of that, too.
Who's scouting who and who wins
no
what
question,
game. Absolutely.
What their record is and all that stuff. I used to worry about that stuff when I was an assistant.
Earl Johnson allowed the ball to go out of bounds, thinking it would have been Iona possession, but it goes to Loyola. There's Earl Johnson, senior point guard for the Gales. Iona, the top seed in their home white uniforms. Loyola, the number 9 seed in their road gray unis.
Good officials here today. Jack Sweeney, Jimmy Hutter, Artie McDonald, By the way, Jimmy Hutter working his final game of his officiating career.
Retirement.
Yeah, he's going to retire. He's going to hang up the whistle.
Reimold the rebound. Earl Johnson comes down with it for the Gales. Johnson with a quick release, and the Iona Gales are on the board first.
We talked in the open about Earl Johnson's explosiveness, not only going to the rack, but from behind the arc, shooting 50% from three-point range.
And he doesn't have quite enough attempts to have won the MAAC regular season championship, but he has enough attempts to be among the NCAA leaders, and that 50% is 13th best in the country.
We have higher standards in the NCAA.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely. Greg Jenkins, member of the rookie team with the jump hook.
He's shooting 59% inside. I really like him. He gets good position inside, aggressive player, and the Gales have come out on fire.
Well, Loyola made it here to the quarterfinal by yesterday upsetting Fairfield yesterday morning here in Buffalo. Game was close throughout, 60-58, and the Greyhounds come out slowly on their first couple of offensive possessions. Reimold's pass went out of bounds.
Trying to work the ball inside of Brian Carroll. Steady senior, 10 points, 10 rebounds a game. Tops in a MAAC conference in rebounding.
Carroll coming off a nice game yesterday. 14 points, 10 rebounds, another double-double.
He's got 10 on the season. Impressive. And Loyola loves to change their defenses. They'll give you some man. They'll give you some 2-3 zone. They'll even show a little pressure on occasion. They're under man, so depth is important, so they can't get themselves in foul trouble in this one.
Phil Grant's pass deflected. It comes out to Dyree Wilson. The shiftiest player in the league gets two.
You talk about shifty, talk about capable when it comes to MAAC tournament time. Last year, 16 points, 4.5 rebounds a game, leading the Gales to the NCAA tournament.
You know what? In his first 2 years, Jack, he's averaged 16 points a game in MAAC tournament play, and Dyree off to a quick start here as Iona has a 7-0 lead. Here's Damian Jennifer. Pass stolen away, but it goes out of bounds. Grant unable to hold on to it. Loyola ball, 14 seconds on the shot clock. They don't reset it because he never got possession. Grant only knocked it out of bounds. So Reimold will trigger in with the Maryland inbounds play. Let's see what Maryland is.
It's a state.
The state where Loyola is from.
Oh, okay.
What do you know? Jennifer had the layup and instead tried to wrap around. With the shot clock winding down, Davis had to fire it up. Earl Johnson, look away pass.
What a
Miller
pass.
Blocked by Thomas. You know, we have two of the three best shot blockers going head-to-head here in this game. Carroll got the better of Miller on the first one, but I'm sure Nakia's long arm will get in there.
You know, it's interesting, too. Both of these shot blockers are lefty.
Yes.
In a game where over 90% of the players across the board are right-handed, you know, it's your natural shot blocking hand when you go with your left. And Carroll and Jenkins, no surprise with that. You got a guy like David Robinson, who's a dominant shot blocker in the college game. Bill Russell. A lot of the great ones are lefty. Observation for you.
Absolutely. Rob Thompson was the other guy in that top three for shot blocks for Fairfield. He's a right-hander, but freshman with a huge upside. There's the Miller block shot of Carroll. Johnson saved the ball off of the hip of Carroll, and so it'll be Gales' possession. The Gales get it back. 16:56 to go. Here in the first half, Loyola still looking for its first points.
And I like what I see from the Iona bench. See the entire crew standing up really into this game today. And, you know, when a man 6'10", rather big, gets a little upset with you during the course of the week, I think you better respond.
You're not putting an exact figure on that LB for Coach Rulin? Just going 6'10" and big.
Jeff is my friend. I don't want to be upsetting to him. And good ball movement here by the Gales against the zone, getting the ball down to the gray area. Ball got deflected that time by Carroll, but then Earl Johnson picking it up, taking it strong.
Off the inbound, Miller had the layup but missed it. Nakia gets it back, and he's fouled before the shot by Reimold, who picks up the personal. So a non-shooting foul.
That's the difference inside when you talk about Miller and obviously Jenkins, and then they come off the bench with Courtney Fields inside. They just keep coming at you, and Loyola just doesn't have the depth to compete over the course of a long period of time with the caliber front court player that the Gales have.
Yesterday, Loyola got some terrific perimeter shooting early.
Oh my goodness, you talk about B.J. Davis, 4 of 4 from the three-point range, and Reimold 3 of 8. I mean, they combined for 7 threes. The youngsters, I mean, they are leading the team in scoring. This year, they're shooting 41% from 3. You talk about getting your contributions from usually a spot you don't count on a whole lot, your freshman class, and yet they are the big plus on this Loyola team.
And B.J. Davis came up with his career high yesterday with 21 points. This is B.J., number 11, with the basketball.
I talk about limited bench. The productivity off the bench is quite limited. Only 8 points and 5 rebounds for the entire Loyola bench. So Scott Hicks, if he can, will use his starting 5 early, often.
Earl Johnson. Strong move to the basket. The senior from Port Chester, New York, now has 5. Actually played his high school ball in Stamford, Connecticut at Trinity Catholic, but calls home Port Chester. 9-0 Iona. Apostolos Nasiu has it knocked away by Johnson.
Quick hands on the part of Johnson. Getting out in the passing lane.
Well, Earl Johnson, Jack, has the reputation of being a big game player. Blocking foul against Reimold. And so far, Earl Johnson has shown that he's a big game player. He has scored 5 of Iona's 9. We've got a timeout. 9-0 Gales on the MAAC Television Network. Jeff Rulin's Iona Gales, the top seed here at the MAAC tournament, off to a quick start to the quarterfinals on top 9 zip. HSBC is proud to sponsor the HSBC Family Section. Tickets and programs for this weekend's tournament in Buffalo provided by HSBC, your world of financial services. Let's send it over to Dave.
Again, you were talking, Coach was talking about Earl Johnson being a big game player. When Earl comes with his A game, this Iona team's very tough to beat. And in fact, early in the season, if you remember, Earl Johnson was told to shoot the ball more, so Iona had a better chance of winning. I think he's doing that here today, and he's feeling comfortable. Back to you guys.
Jeff Rulin, by the way, has a rule. If he doesn't take 10 shots, he runs.
Get on the baseline and start running if you don't shoot.
When in doubt, air it out. I like that.
So do most players. Diary Wilson off the crossover. 11-0.
I think he likes the green light, and he deserves it. Averaging 13 points a game this year for the Gales.
Well, Earl Johnson, in quotes, almost admits to the fact that, yeah, sometimes I don't get up for games that aren't big games like this one. Davis knocks the ball out of bounds. It'll be Iona basketball.
You know, the one thing, and that comment sends up a red flag to me, because this has been the problem for Iona. I mean, that's your red flag right there. I mean, you can't turn it on like a switch and turn it off. And that's what Jeff Rulin's been so frustrated with his team. And it's interesting. When you have a good ball club with a lot of ability, and I think at times, you know, you're coming off an NCAA berth, you get a little bit disinterested. And you need some things to get yourself focused. And sometimes losing 3 in a row creates a bigger sense of urgency, and you have the whole week, and you're just yelling at your guys the entire week. Sometimes, you know what, it brings things all back into focus again, and a timeout for Scott Hicks. Iona, this is a blitzkrieg right here.
13 zip. And Diary Wilson, as has been his custom over the years here in the MAAC tournament, putting up the points for the Gales. He's got 6 of their 13 zip Iona. Jack, the winners of the New York Lottery MAAC Scholar Athlete Award from Siena College, Carmen Massarello, and from Niagara University, Becky O'Donohue. Massarello is a marketing major with a 3.58 GPA from Clifton Park, New York, while O'Donohue is a communications major with a 3.65 GPA and from Dobbs Ferry, New York. New York Lottery will provide new computers to their elementary schools, and the award is based, as always, on GPA, community participation, and good sportsmanship. The New York Lottery supporting education since 1967, saluting Massarello and O'Donohue for their achievements.
And that squad trying to repeat for the first time since LaSalle did it in 1990. And amazing this run Iona's had, though, in the MAAC conference. This is the 6th time in MAAC history. 6 straight years, I apologize. They've been in the top 3.
Yep.
The only one in the MAAC that has done that.
And they've won 4 out of those 6.
No question. And, you know, you talk about the fact that if Miller and Grant could find a way to win the title this year, they would join Lionel Simmons and Billy Johnson and LaSalle as the only seniors that have won 3 titles in 4 years. So this senior class has experienced a great deal of success at Iona. And how about Jeff Rulin, the start he's had to his career? 37-17 his first 3 years in MAAC play. That's the best ever in Iona history.
And that's saying something, because the Gales have had some big-time coaches through New Rochelle. 14:40 to go here in the first half of our second quarterfinal. Marist beat Ryder in the opener, so the Red Foxes await the winner of this game. Maceo Wolford has come in, as has Courtney Fields for Iona. Here's John Reimold, the rookie of the year in the conference. Misfires again. Carroll the offensive rebound. Reimold. And the Greyhounds are off the schneid. As Diary Wilson takes a break to tie a sneaker in the backcourt, play continues.
Field goal for Loyola. As the Gales with a touchdown and 2 field goals hit, 13-3. Right. Bills country, big discussion about Doug Flutie, Doug Johnson.
Take this game out to
Rob Johnson.
Orchard Park. Yeah, Rob Johnson. Yeah, it's the front page news, A1 every day.
Crazy, ridiculous.
Flutie or Johnson.
Who cares? Get an offensive line.
Here's Reimold from Jennifer. Courtney Fields, he's got Miller up ahead, and he is fouled. Near midcourt, personal foul, non-shooting foul, so it'll be Gales basketball. We go back over across the court to Dave.
Thanks, Doug. In that timeout just previous, Coach Scott Hicks was talking to the team and wanted them to keep their heads up and said, come on, get a three-pointer like they just did, and then the game's 14-6, 14-8. They're right back in it. He's trying to keep the focus on the game and not let their heads get out of it, and I think that's an important thing. What do you say, Jack?
I would agree. I mean, more than anything else in a game like this, Dave, you have to make sure you do a good job of just worrying about your game plan. Come down, take care of the basketball, take quality shots, not necessarily get all caught up in the scoreboard. You know you're playing up a level in terms of competition, and this is a team that swept you during the regular season. So more than anything else, I mean, Scott Hicks has done a great job with this ball club. They've been competitive against everybody they've played against. Great win yesterday. And obviously today, this is a growing experience for his young ball club.
Although, you know what, Jack, in those 2 sweeps, the one game down in Baltimore was a relatively tight game, 67-61.
Exactly.
B.J. Davis short on the 3. The Greyhounds are off from the perimeter so far. 13-3 Iona. So far, Loyola 1 for 10 shooting from the floor, Jack. On the flip side, the Gales just keep on knocking them down, 16-3.
Leland Norris, I mean, you talk about a specialist, 40% from the three-point line. Over 70% of his shots, Doug, come from behind the arc.
And, you know, across the board, all of the Iona Gales have been shooting better from the perimeter as the season has gone on. The numbers go up. We talked about Earl Johnson shooting like crazy. Leland Norris has as good a stroke as anybody, too.
You're right, and here we are. We get a chance to look at that stroke. Good. Look at that screen right there. That's perfect. You talk about, and it was funny, Scott Hicks was screaming out to his team that there was a back screen coming, and the guy that's always open in the game of basketball is the guy that sets the screen, and great job that time. Set the screen, and then the presentation, waiting for the ball to be delivered, and perfect delivery.
Phil Grant, Diary Wilson, their three-point shooting percentage has gone north as the season is worn on. Davis 1 out of 2, the freshman from Newcastle, Delaware, with his first point.
All-rookie performer.
Good ball movement. Maceo Wolford tried to penetrate, kick it back out for Fields.
He's a local product here from the Western New York area, from Jamestown. Iona won a big recruiting battle with Canisius for his services. Canisius did just fine, though, with their point guard that they acquired, Brian Dukes.
Yes. He's a
good one.
Super sophomore who we will see in our nighttime doubleheader here at the HSBC Arena. Niagara versus Canisius should be a good one. There's Wolford, as if on cue. Unfortunately, didn't hit the shot. Up ahead, Reimold. Into Nasiu. Fouled by Wolford, and Nasiu will shoot 2.
Good job that time by Loyola. They push the ball up the court quickly. Reimold goes right into Nasiu, and a strong move inside. Good feed into the post. Gets it right down the baseline. Good positioning. Beats him to the punch inside. Fields a bit slow getting there. That's good primary break. Getting the ball inside quickly off the transition game.
Apostolos Nasiu, a senior from Trikala, Greece, the 3rd leading foul shooter in the conference at 84%.
And I remember him when I coached in this league, and he was someone that would always get in foul trouble. And he's done a much better job now, just doing being more alert in terms of what he's doing defensively and staying away from those silly ones. And you know what? This team needs him on the floor. Does him no good sitting on a bench. His productivity has risen accordingly.
Well, like you say, Jack, they don't have the numbers. Loyola doesn't have the numbers on the bench, particularly on the post. They've got a few other options on the wing, but they really need him underneath. 11:52 left to go here in the half. Timeout on the floor with Iona leading by 10 on the MAAC television network. Jeff Rulin's Iona Gales, the top seeds here at the MAAC tournament, off to a quick start. Fans Disney's Wide World of Sports joining forces with the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. And the benefit is the MAAC athletes. Here's a listing of the MAAC championships being held down in Florida at Disney. Men's and women's golf, women's soccer, women's volleyball next year. For ticket and travel package information, visit MAACsports.com or AnthonyTravel.com.
Interesting with the Loyola Greyhounds. How about this year? They're 0-14 on the road, and they've lost 30 straight road games in the last few seasons. Yet, on neutral courts, Doug, they're 3-0. This is like Switzerland to them.
Switzerland not kind so far here this afternoon, though.
Should have all their games in like Geneva and Zurich.
Their Swiss Army knife needs to be sharpened just a bit.
3-0 on neutral courts.
Nasiu connects.
For those of you people that don't get the joke, obviously Switzerland was a neutral country.
I think they got it. I think they got it.
But there's a lot of kids out watching that don't really have a great understanding of history, and those that don't have an understanding are doomed to repeat it.
Professor Armstrong.
There you go. A little history lesson for you. That was my major at Fordham.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How'd you do?
I'm here. Degree in hand. I don't know what that does for me, but a $1.50 gets me on a subway, right?
Yeah. Jenkins gets a friendly bounce. You talk about the soft rims here at HSBC Arena, Jack. Jenkins now with 4 points. Freshman from Mount Vernon.
They weren't soft enough when I coached there, or at least when my team was shooting.
Well, it was still a brand new arena at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys loosened up the rims.
Our bricks broke them in.
Nasiu kicks it back out for Jennifer. Shot clock at 8. Now Jennifer recognizes, works on Wofford. Nice move by Damian Jennifer.
He is capable penetrator coming back from knee surgery. He can get to the rack, create his own shot. 4th in the league in assists, 4th in steals. A solid competitor.
Yeah, he had some cartilage damage repaired just 2.5 weeks ago by arthroscopic surgery. Back and running the show for the Greyhounds.
You know it's tough too. You know, Loyola coming off of such an emotional game against Fairfield yesterday. They look a little tired, quite frankly. I mean,
absolutely.
And that could be a telltale sign in a game like this.
Especially yesterday morning's game was a war. It wasn't like they cruised through. They had to fight right down to the last second.
And then you play a 2 o'clock game this afternoon. I mean, back-to-back. It's one thing having practices back-to-back day. It's another thing, the stress of playing in games is different. Nakia Miller 0 for 2. How about the fact that right now he's shooting 67%, which is tops in the MAAC. If he can stay at that level, he will break the all-time record at Iona, which is 672, and he has 675, and was helped by the head coach of the Gales, Mr. Jeff Rulin.
And coincidentally, they both wore the same uniform number 43. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
See, now I'm giving you a digit. You gave me one in the first game, I got you in the second game.
I know Jeff wouldn't say this, but his number should be retired at Iona. There's no question.
Yes.
I can't believe his number's not retired.
Well, maybe they can do like what the Yankees did with number 8. After 2 guys have worn it, Yogi wore it, and then they both retired for number 8. So let both of them go up there as number 43.
You got to talk to Richie Petchone, the fine athletic director of the Gales, sitting courtside near his bench, about the retirement of his head coach's number.
If they start retiring, they've got a lot of numbers they're going to have to retire.
You think about the great players that played there: Richie Guerin and Stevie Burt, Gary Springer,
Sean Green,
Tariq Kirksey, Mindaugas Tomiskas, Mikkel Lawson.
A lot of NBA players in that mix.
No question. A lot of good ones playing in Europe as well.
Absolutely. Nasiu towing the line, gets his own miss. The Greyhounds ice cold here in Buffalo, 2 for 11 from the floor. 8:45 to go in the half. Earl Johnson comes away with a loose ball. It's an 8-point Iona lead. Johnson blocked by Carroll, but we've got a foul, either Reimold or Carroll.
You know, right there, the Greyhounds a bit slow getting back, and nobody slows down Johnson in transition. Sometimes that happens where you're relying on playing with a shot blocker, so you almost allow things to take place because you know he's going to cover up for your mistakes. But what takes place then is you pick up some fouls, and Carroll called for that one. Looked pretty clean to me.
Earl Johnson, a preseason third-team all-conference pick. He wound up on the second team. 12 points, 4 assists. And as we talked about, an unbelievable shooting touch, 50% on three-pointers, and you see the perfect release and rotation on the free throw.
You made the point about the rating in NCAA basketball. He's 15th in the country, three-point percentage, 5th in the MAAC in assists right now, and he's had 5 20-point games, and the Gale squad is 4-2 when he's their leading scorer. So averaged 9 points and 2 rebounds in his games against the Greyhounds this year.
Well, he did it in the Big East for Rutgers University. Averaged 12 a game as a freshman. And you know what? The other players on that all-freshman team, Jack, 4 years ago, Tim Thomas, Richard Hamilton, Jason Hart, and Shaheen Holloway. This guy, Earl Johnson, was the 5th member of that all-rookie team in the Big East.
That was an impressive crew right there. And at this level, when you get a player from a higher conference, the impact they can have can be pretty significant. And Earl Johnson's had that today.
Transferring in for just 1 year, and he's made it count. Damian Jennifer picks up the loose ball, kicks to the corner, but an offensive foul. Nakia Miller was standing put, and Jennifer plowed into him. So Damian Jennifer picks up the personal.
Great job by Miller, stepping in, taking a charge, and good penetration here by Jennifer. But right there, you should just step.
Rather than leaving his feet.
Exactly, a little jump stop, knock down a little 12-foot jumper, or kick it off, drive, draw, and dish for the little wing jump shot, and instead he leaves his feet, gets tangled up, and Miller waiting right there for him.
Number 2 on Jennifer, number 7 against Loyola, and we've got some perspiration on the floor that Artie McDonald is taking care of. Artie's all over it.
Artie looks good. He's taken off about 20 pounds.
Yeah, you and he both must have had the same diet the last couple of years.
Lean and mean, Artie McDonald, looking sharp. Of course, Jack Sweeney, the other official. Fine officiating crew here today.
You know Jack's within earshot, so he...
yeah, I said that, of course.
Sucking up.
I'm not. I don't have to coach anymore. I can care less what I say about these guys. Good crew.
B.J. Davis, nice finger roll. First field goal for the 5'11 freshman.
He's an explosive young player. By the way, B.J. Pendleton was a member of the '94 MAAC champion team at Loyola. Maybe lightning will strike twice for Loyola, but if Earl Johnson keeps knocking down jumpers like that, no way.
It's a 10-point lead once again. B.J. Davis right back at it. He's up to 5.
Oh, he is going to be a good one. He's got the quick step, can put it to the floor. Solid release on his shot. Good shooting form.
There's Dyree Wilson. Back and forth we go. The junior from the Bronx out of Rice High School now has 8.
Think about the fact the last time Iona lost 3 in a row. You think about the fact that in the 83-84, they lost 2 in a row, and then they went to the NCAA tournament. So sometimes it works in strange ways. The bad things that happen to you at the end of the regular season end up being a motivational force for your team to get ready for the tournament.
Meanwhile, the field goal percentages are picking up considerably.
Oh, my goodness.
Loyola with 3 straight hoops. Trying to hang around with the number 1 seed, the Iona Gales, here at the MAAC tournament in Buffalo, along with Jack Armstrong. This is Doug Sherman. You're watching Earl Johnson, point guard for the Gales. Dyree Wilson driving on Brant Mack, and that's a mismatch that Iona certainly wants to exploit.
No question, because of the size differential, and Wilson with the quick first step. Mack, the senior, 2 assists yesterday in 8 minutes against the Stags of Fairfield. But right here, good recognition. They isolate, clear out the right side, and he goes right to him. Wilson will shoot 2 free throws. Shooting 71% on the season from the free throw line, 14th best in the MAAC.
And you know what? He has been, after a slow start to the year at the line, Jack, he is now 83 for his last 97. He's over 86% for the bulk of the year. So forget about the first couple of weeks of the season, and he's amongst the league leaders.
You're right. He shot 47% before that, so he's made a dramatic improvement. And You know, he's an explosive guy. We talk about what he's done in MAAC tournament play. He's had 7 20-point games this year. I mean, he gets to the free throw line. This is 140 free throw attempts. So he's a guy that does a great job drawing fouls.
Tyree Wilson already into double figures. The Gales have the lead. You're watching the MAAC Television Network.
I know most of you just graduated high school last year, or maybe you've been working for a while, seen some things, done some things, but nothing has prepared you for what's going to happen now. We're going to set goals for each of you, way up here, way up here, and then we're going to help you exceed them, believe it. And when finished, you're going to have not just a degree, you'll be a different person, a better person. Welcome to Iona.
Aspire, achieve. Iona. Call Iona College at 1-800-231-IONA.
26-16, Iona leading Loyola late in the first half. And this quarterfinal games Did You Know feature brought to you by Citizens Communications, the official telecommunications company of the MAAC. And Jack, did you know, for the first time since 1984, there was a three-way tie for first place atop the MAAC. Iona, Niagara, and Siena, each with 12-6 records. The last time it happened, the names were LaSalle, St. Peter's, and Iona. Back then, Niagara and Siena, neither of them were in the MAAC at that point.
You look at the Loyola bench. What a great win they had yesterday against Fairfield. They held Sam Spann at 7 points, 2 of 10 shooting, and they forced Fairfield to shoot a really dismal 25% from the perimeter and only 13% from three-point range. So great game plan yesterday by Scott Hicks and his staff. Good execution out of there. The timeout. You always judge the quality of coaching by what takes place when you have an opportunity to choreograph shot opportunities, and beautifully done by the Greyhounds.
Reimold, plenty to boast about and feel good about here as a freshman at Loyola College. 15 points a game. Had a great play-in game yesterday, and the Greyhounds get the ball back, trailing by 8.
Here's an amazing thing from yesterday's game as well. They took 18 less field goals. They took 16 less free throws. They were out-rebounded by 9 rebounds. They gave up 18 offensive rebounds to Fairfield, and they only had 4. And they committed 6 more turnovers, and they found a way to beat Fairfield 60-58. So somehow, some way, the Greyhounds got it done yesterday.
B.J. Davis lost his footing, kept the ball, though. Nice composure. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Back out to Damian Jennifer. You see the time remaining on the shot clock, lower left-hand corner.
This is the tempo Loyola wants, not the shot they want.
Nakia Miller with the left-handed pass to Tyree Wilson.
That looked sweet that time. The lefty throwing the long pass. That's like Kenny Stabler.
I was going to say Ken Griffey Jr. out in center field.
Oh, I'm thinking football now.
I'm thinking it's baseball season.
That's true, spring training.
28-18, Tyree Wilson already with 12 points for the Gales.
Pitches and catches report. Now we get the whole
the spring training games have already gotten underway. Thursday they got underway.
That's right.
Let's go over to Dave Scott. Dave.
Jack, what a great point you were making about Scott Hicks sitting with the Iona coaching staff yesterday, and they were so impressed every time out against Tim O'Toole and Fairfield. They came out, ran their play perfectly, usually got what they were looking for, just like that play. Scott Hicks wants this game to stay under 35 for Iona before the half's over. That was his challenge to his team, and Jack sounds like a pretty good number to shoot for, don't you think?
Sure does, and you know, this year, Dave, Loyola's only scored 70 points 5 times the entire season, so they need to play in a slow tempo because they're so limited off the bench. They rely so heavily on their starting 5.
Tyree Wilson, the hoop, and head coach Scott Hicks, you see Delaney Southall, was looking for an offensive foul by one of the teammates of Tyree Wilson with an illegal pick. See Nakia Miller running a little interference on Southall.
He was. And that's his first. Good craftiness with the handle. Tyree Wilson taking it to the rack. Those numbers are quite impressive for the beginning of this ball game. He must need to take all field goals because the free throws haven't worked.
B.J. Davis hangs in the air again. Shows that B.J. Davis is not, Jack, just a perimeter shooter. He's been taking it to the hole with a vengeance.
Explosive.
Nakia Miller backing down Southall, but he missed off the glass. 30-20, Iona by 10. That's pretty much been the difference in the game so far here this afternoon.
And I'm impressed with how Loyola's played here. I mean, after Iona had that little what am I saying, little. It was a major run to start the game. Loyola's kind of settled into their pattern and the flow that they want to take with this game and doing a solid job with it.
Iona still shooting 63% from the floor, Jack.
Loyola shooting 32%, 5 turnovers. The Gales with 6, so they've hurt themselves a little bit from an offensive standpoint.
Earl Johnson dumps it off with a left-handed shot by Nakia Miller.
Good timeout. 30-second timeout here on the floor, and Jeff Rulin calling the timeout. Look at Iona here, getting out in transition. Good job in the open court. Leland Norris kicking it ahead. Earl Johnson kicking it off inside of Miller. And that's what Miller does so well. He runs the floor like a big, gets down deep in the post, and Johnson just taking care of business.
And, you know, we've seen Nakia Miller grow. He said that he's kind of taken Greg Jenkins under his wing as the Gale legacy moves on. Kashif Hamid, who was the MAAC Player of the Year a few years ago, the upperclassman who handed it down to Miller. And it goes on from Jeff Rulin, who started this whole thing with the big men back in the 70s.
No question. And when you have an opportunity to play for a guy that went to war in the NBA for so many years as a front court player, when he speaks, you listen. And I think Nakia Miller, Greg Jenkins doing a lot of listening, and it's paying off.
Jack, you know all about this, the MAAC website.
Oh, my goodness.
MAACsports.com, updated regularly and provides current information about all of these MAAC teams and players. Check it out on the World Wide Web.
Block shot there inside. Courtney Fields sending it out. And you think about Iona, they've been dominant in this league. 6 years in a row, they've led the league in block shots. You can see why.
Not bad at all. We've got a timeout. The Greyhounds of Loyola trying to hang with the #1 seeds from Iona. You're watching the MAAC Television Network. The Gales girls rooting on their Iona Gales here in Buffalo. 32-20 the lead in the first half. And they just announced on Thursday the Pepsi Player of the Year. It's Damon Stewart. The man who led the conference in scoring this year for the 2nd straight year, Damon Stewart. No doubt about it, one of the high-flying swingmen. Almost 8 rebounds a game as well, you see, for the Purple Eagles, our Pepsi Player of the Year. An award he desperately wanted last year when he scored 23 a game. Didn't get it, but got it this year as a senior for his all-around play.
Like a Lifetime Achievement Award. He had a great
2 years.
Oh, he's been a fabulous player. And Scott Hicks wouldn't mind having him right now. The Greyhounds trailing by 12 here. Here's an interesting stat. They're 6-2 when they lead at half, the Greyhounds. They're 0-20 if they're behind at halftime. So you could get 13 points pretty quick here, get a lead. You see the numbers on the screen, telling a story in terms of shooting percentage.
Macia Wolford, Courtney Fields, Diary Wilson, Greg Jenkins, and Leland Norris now with the ball for the Gales.
Major minutes being played by the starters for all. They average 33 minutes a game. But again, we talk about the lack of productivity from this bench. So they really need consistent, solid effort from their starting 5.
Well, Loyola has signed already a big incoming recruiting class.
5, that's right.
That Scott Hicks is planning and counting on heavily next year to come in and not only provide minutes, but quality minutes.
Well, and you look at the fact that Jennifer, Davis, and Reimhold return, as well as Southall. I mean, you have a good nucleus to work with, and you know, it's the way you build your program. You know, it doesn't happen overnight. And Scott Hicks has been through it. I mean, you know, at Lemoyne and Albany, and assistant at Syracuse with Jimmy Boeheim, he understands the concept of taking a program and bringing it along slowly. And you watch in a few years, Loyola will be right there. And they've had a down period right now. This is the 3rd straight year they've been the 9th seed in the tournament. So it's a difficult stretch for their program. And he's very fortunate as well. He's got a basketball guy as his athletic director, Joe Boylan, the fine AD, former assistant to Tom Young at Rutgers. Actually, I coached against Joe. He was the interim head coach at Loyola for a little bit. So I have a 1-0 career, actually 2-0 career record against Mr. Athletic Director, Administrator, former coach, Joe Boylan.
Very nice. Foul by Jenkins. And some of the names of the Loyola recruits that they've signed for next year: Bernard Allen, a 6'6" swing man from Houston, Texas. Sean Corrigan from Hicksville, New York at Holy Trinity High School, a 6'10" post player. Dennis Desmond transferring to Loyola from New Mexico State. He's from Hingham, Mass, coming back east, a point guard. Lucius Jordan, an all-around player at Colony High School in the Albany area. And then I'll leave you, Jack, with the last name.
I can't say it.
Center from the Republic of Georgia. Irakli
Nagaziki.
Najaradzi. We'll have to learn it between now and next
Believe
November.
me, if he can ball at 6'10", I'll learn his name.
So that's the future for the Greyhounds. They've got 5 coming in next year to bolster what they've already got, a great young core down in Baltimore.
We have a guy, I do the Toronto Raptor games, and we have a guy who played at Auburn. His name is Mamadou Njai.
Yes.
It's a great name, Mamadou. My kids like Scooby-Doo, so that's why.
I like Ruben Boomche.
Oh, at Georgetown.
At Georgetown.
Having a great year, by the way. Craig Estrick's squad is going to go to the NCAA tournament. Loyola going back to the 2-3 zone.
Under 90 seconds to go here in the first half. Leland Norris. Brian Carroll knocked it out of bounds. He and Kenya Carruthers were going at it, so it'll be Iona ball.
They are a tired bunch. I mean, it's only a matter of time if Iona just keeps the pressure up. I mean, I give Loyola a lot of credit after that major run to start the game. They've played the Gales even from that point on, but you could just see the fatigue.
Well, you know, it throws the body clock off. They played a morning game yesterday. When was the last time a college basketball team played in the morning? You play mostly nights, some afternoons, but to have to get up at 6 a.m. to get into your routine, that takes its toll.
And they're playing up a notch. Obviously, Fairfield with the better team on paper and with record, in terms of the record, and you turn around and you pull off a mild upset, and then you have to come back and play the top-seeded team. So a lot to ask for this young ball club.
Well, basketball is just one of the entities that the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference has going this time of year, and in just a couple of weekends, the focus will be hockey at the University of Connecticut Ice Arena in Storrs, Connecticut. It is hockey season, don't you know, Jack?
The Canadians say,
March 15th through the 17th, For ticket information, call 877-AT-UCONN.
And I think the guys that play the MAAC hockey, they wear the masks, right? So they actually have teeth. So
Yes,
a lot of those old
presumably.
a lot of those old hockey guys don't have any teeth.
But you know, when they're playing on the pond out in rural
Saskatchewan.
Ontario, or it's even more so, they're not wearing face masks.
Playing for the love of the game.
What was that movie based in Alaska? That town that had its town team. Did you see it? The hockey movie?
No,
you didn't see it.
There goes your story.
Anybody in the truck? Mystery Alaska. Thank you, Mike Foss. He saw it.
He's got no life going to see Mystery Alaska.
That's not right. Under a minute to go here in the half. And the 3 by Leland Norris.
There's no mystery there.
No.
You better get out and guard him. He can knock down a Jimmy.
You give him 6 inches, and he can knock it down.
By the way, Jenkins is okay. He's on the bench with some ice, but just precautionary.
This is the largest lead of the game for Iona, 15 points, 35-20. So here's the 35-point barrier that Scott Hicks challenged his Greyhounds to keep Iona down to. Loyola with the ball. Reimold to inbound. He's got Nasiu, Davis, Carroll, and Jennifer in their road green uniforms. Dave McGarity, the head coach for Marist, stopping by.
Never got a dinner.
2001 MAAC Coach of the Year, Dave McGarity, stopping by.
He's
They're
still
in the
wearing
semifinals.
Hey, people, he's still wearing that thing. They got to get the little pins. You know, those things are too big and gawky.
Oh, you got a lot of juice around here.
I don't have any juice.
Come on.
No juice. You got to talk to Rich Henson. The man runs the show.
1 second between the shot and game clocks. Davis knocked away. Gets it up at the horn. And that is the first half of basketball in quarterfinal number 2 at the 2001 HSBC MAAC basketball tournament here in Buffalo. Jeff Rulin's club on top, 35-20. We'll take a break and come back to Western New York in just a bit. We are heading toward halftime on the MAAC Television Network.
Manhattan College, with 5 schools of arts, business, education, engineering, and science. Minutes from the cultural center and global marketplace that is New York City. founded in the Lasallian tradition of excellence in teaching, respect for human dignity, and commitment for social justice. Manhattan College.
35-20, Iona leads Loyola at the half of quarterfinal number 2 here at the HSBC Arena in Buffalo. And we take a look at how tight these standings were during the regular season. They're brought to you courtesy of I Love New York, and 3 teams tied for first: Iona, Niagara, and Siena. And then the Marist Red Foxes, the Ryder Bronx, and the Manhattan Jaspers tied for second, 1 game back at 11-7. Those standings brought to you by I Love New York. Welcome back, everybody, along with Jack Armstrong. This is Doug Sherman, and not surprisingly, when you jump out to a 13-0 lead, it's tough to hang around, but to Loyola's credit, they did hang around.
Well, from that point on, they've only trailed the rest of the way by 2 points, so they've done a better job getting the tempo the way they like it. Their defensive coverage has been better, getting back, making this more of a 5-on-5 half-court game. And that's what you need to do when you're undermanned and you're not very deep. You need to move the ball patiently, use some of the shot clock, take quality shots. And early on, obviously, turnovers hurt Loyola. And on the flip side, give Iona credit. You know, the response. So much in sports is what happens to you. You know, how you respond to failure. And, you know, losing 3 games in a row, you would think, you know, you're playing Loyola, you might say, hey, we're going to look past them a little bit. We should beat them on talent alone. Iona came out today ready to play. Impressive 13-0 start. They were ready to go no matter who is on the other team.
All right, this is quarterfinal number 2 of our 4 games we've got here today in Buffalo. We take a look at the scores from earlier. You see that Marist defeated Ryder earlier today, 70-58. So the Red Foxes are in the semis awaiting the winner of this one. As you see at halftime, Iona on top by 15. Our nighttime doubleheader coming up here on the MAAC television network. Niagara and Canisius and Manhattan against Siena. They're scheduled for roughly 7 and 9 o'clock. You'll want to stay with us to see that as well. And you see Iona Loyola trying to get into the semifinals to take on the Red Foxes. The semis are tomorrow afternoon at noon at 2:30, and then the championship game for the right to go to the NCAA tournament Monday night right here in Buffalo at 7 o'clock. We'll step away from the HSBC Arena. The Gales on top by 15 of the Greyhounds. You're watching the MAAC television network. This game is brought to you in part by the New York Lottery. New York Lotto, will you be ready if it happens to you? By Continental Airlines, work hard, fly right. Citizens Communications, the official telecommunications company of the MAAC. Budget, get out of the ordinary with Budget. And by Chase Manhattan Bank, the right relationship is everything. Back in Buffalo, Iona leads by 15 over Loyola at the half, 35-20. This is quarterfinal number 2 of the day here on the MAAC television network. And the rest of the day should be a good one, but so far we've already got one team out of the semifinals. Coach McGarity standing by with Jack Armstrong. Jack?
You know, Dave was getting on my case about not having him over to my house for dinner. So here's an empty cup of water for you, okay?
I can't get a reservation at Chef's. I'm dying. I mean, you know, Ron Berdovich is working hard, though. He's got me into Paulo's.
Oh, he's the big shot here in town.
He's a big shot.
A great win today. I mean, you know, teams with very similar styles, you and Ryder. A hard-fought game. Not pretty, but nonetheless efficient for your team. You did a great job on the backboards today.
No, I'm thrilled with our offensive rebounding at halftime. I thought they had the offensive rebounds mixed up. We had 10, and you know, Matty Toas did not have one of his better games, Jack. You've seen him play great in the guarding against Manhattan, and he's been wonderful for us the last half of the season. But he's a little jittery. It was his first big playoff game, and he just kept hanging in there. His defense down the stretch was just terrific, I thought. And Vail and Samuels really brought it today.
I thought Ryder did a good job today with the containment of Sean Kennedy, yet he didn't force his game. And other people who rely so much on him creating offense for them kind of stepped up today and got it done without him being a major factor.
Absolutely. And even look at the end of the game. I mean, I think he only had 5 assists. And normally in a game like this, he'd have 9, 10, or double digits. And, you know, Rick Smith was wonderful tonight. I mean, his toughness early offensively. And then I think we got to look at Drew Samuels of old today. You know, he just looked like he had that extra lift. And in his jump shot, he was really, really doing a lot of little things that he hasn't been doing for the last couple of weeks.
You know, I know you and Jeff Rulin are the College Hoops Insider, the top best-dressed coaches in the MAAC, and I like the new ensemble.
Not me. I'm my staff is the best-dressed staff. It's not me anymore.
It's a team effort.
Well, you know, Steve Sowers is the #1 assistant in the country in that category, and he's carrying me, obviously. But I think Eugene Burroughs gets overlooked, you know. It's like I say Rick Smith gets overlooked on the old MAAC teams. Well, Eugene Burroughs is a sleeper. So I just, I'm really thrilled with the way we came out today. I think that 7-day layoff in that quarterfinal was tough.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Back to you, Doug.
Thanks.
You got it, Jack. Thank you, Coach, for stopping by as we take a look at the rest of the TV schedule for the HSBC MAAC tournament here in Buffalo. Check your local listings as well to make sure, because there are lots of hoops to come. The Marist Red Foxes have reached the semis tomorrow afternoon. You'll want to check it out and then see who makes the finals on Monday night to be televised on ESPN. We'll take a break and come back to Buffalo. We're at the half. Iona leading Loyola on the MAAC Television Network.
If you're looking to get more from your education than just a diploma, take a look at Canisius College. Rated one of the best in U.S. News & World Report, Canisius offers cutting-edge academic programs and a faculty that is second to none. But the best part of a Canisius education is what you'll take with you, the knowledge and skills you will need to be a leader in your profession and community. To find out more about Canisius College, call 1-800-843-1517 or visit us on the web at canisius.edu. Canisius College, where leaders are made.
At the half, Iona 35, Loyola 20. Along with Jack Armstrong, this is Doug Sherman. And outside shooting's been a strength so far for the Gales. 4 for 7 from downtown, including Mr. Earl Johnson.
Earl Johnson getting it done from behind the arc. Getting out in transition here, knocking down a three-point shot. He's made 2 this afternoon, 2 of 2 for 9 points. And then when you talk about the bright spot for Loyola, Rhymehold, the rookie of the year in the league, 5 points this afternoon. Good solid move inside in the post. And then Tyree Wilson, he's been taking care of business, knocking down a mid-range shot, taking it to the rack with authority. He's 6 for 6 this afternoon with 14 points. Tyree Wilson doing it all for the Gales. Mr. Wilson leads all scorers with those 14. We look at the stats brought to you by Citizens Communications. And you see the numbers, the shooting very good for Iona, both inside and out, as usual, Jack. Tells the story right there. A little more efficient in their offense. The big difference in the tempo favoring Iona. When we come back, the start of the second half between the top-seeded Iona Gales and the number 9 seed, the Loyola Greyhounds, on the MAAC Television Network.
You got to play defense, and if you do, you're probably going to be okay in this game, because how's a team going to shoot 64% in the second half the same way they did in the first half? I've never seen it done like that. Have you, Jack? I have, unfortunately, against me. But you know what's important? He's seeing things as the glass is half full, not half empty, and that's the important thing. And when you have a young club and you're coming off a positive day like yesterday against Fairfield, and the odds are against you playing a team as talented as Iona, you try to focus on the positive things that your team is doing, and that's a positive right there when you talk about defense. Good shot block inside by Damian and Jennifer.
We take a look at the individual scoring leaders as we start the second half. Tyree Wilson, as we mentioned, leading the way with the help of Earl Johnson and Leland Norris. Both of those two guys hoisting them up from the outside. B.J. Davis leading the way for the Greyhounds with 7, and he's been doing it, taking it to the basket. You know, Loyola's done a solid job. They haven't turned the ball over. They've only had 6 turnovers, so they've taken care of the ball. The problem has been their inability to make shots, and Iona with all the answers. Sweet pass inside, down the gut of the defense. Little high percentage shot right there. I would say so. Nakia Miller with 4 points. He averages 15 a game, the 7th leading scorer in the conference during the regular season. But he does so many other things, rebounding, blocking shots. Jennifer connects. Damian Jennifer, junior from Baltimore, Maryland, with his 2nd field goal of the day. Not known as a three-point shooter, only shooting 17% behind the arc. So Phil Grant went to the left hand and came up short. Jennifer more of a penetrator, trying to set the table for teammates. That's what he does best right there. Right on cue. Jennifer comes out. Damian making me sound prophetic. 7 now for Damian Jennifer. Loyola just hanging around. They're stuck 12, but once again, they've just done a nice job in keeping this game right where they want it, within striking distance.
Good call by Jim Hutter down on the baseline. Jenkins trying to post up, and Southall a little bit too aggressive in a post in a left post.
Delaney Southall becomes the first player in this afternoon's game with 3 fouls. Tyree Wilson, it rimmed out. Wilson gets it back. Knocked away on his way up, and another jump ball call. And because of all the contact, the headband's a little bit off there, Jack. There, you got to fix it.
That's like the new thing now. Great drive here on the baseline, but good help by Carroll. Good no call by the officials, and then we had the loose ball scenario.
Meanwhile, back to live action. Little 2-on-1. Jennifer went to the reverse. Nakia Miller goes down with an ankle injury.
And that's not a good shot by Jennifer there. I mean, I think you have to take the ball directly at the defensive player and try to draw the foul. He was moving, so you're not going to have a charge call against you. Or, more importantly, pull the ball back out, but don't force the issue.
Take another look at how Nakia Miller rolled his foot here, and you can see he can barely stand to put any weight on it. He's the trailer coming into your picture right about there. There's number 43, and watch where he lands. Oh, he got rolled.
He got rolled, yeah.
Reimold landed on his
exactly his
foot and
right ankle.
Well, now he's able to put a little bit more weight on it.
Sam DeRosa, the fine trainer. J.B. Bono, trainer at Iona for over 50 years. They'll get him back.
They're actually working on Tyree Wilson right now. He's got some blood on his shin. So to get Tyree back in, and then they move over to Nakia Miller. There's Tyree back into the game.
It's a busy crew there on the Iona bench.
And so while Nakia Miller receives treatment on the bench, play continues. Loyola with the ball down by 12. This is quarterfinal number 2 of the MAAC tournament. Here in Buffalo, along with Jack Armstrong, this is Doug Sherman.
You think of the trainers here in this conference. I mean, Doc Johnson in Manhattan for over 50 years, J.B. Bono at Iona. It's over 100 years of taping ankles.
Yep, longevity awards for both.
Last acts.
17:20 left to go here in the second half. Phil Grant, Earl Johnson, Courtney Fields, Greg Jenkins, and Tyree Wilson on the floor for the top seeds from New Rochelle. Shot clock wound down to 10. Here's Courtney Fields. Multi-talented 6'9" wing player, misses and picks up the foul. Delaney Southall the rebound. Fields reached around and picked up the personal.
That was a nice move that time by Fields. I mean, he got the ball right to where he wanted it with his shot and just didn't go down, but can't knock the effort.
The kid's got skills. 6'9" sophomore out of Rice High School. Went to Laurinburg Institute down in North Carolina, and you know, at 6'9", he has guard skills.
He sure does. And you know, you talk to Iona coaches, they say he's one of the more talented players they've ever had in the history at Iona. And he's only a sophomore, so the better days are ahead.
Tyree Wilson picks up the foul. Let's get the latest on the foot ankle injury on Nakia Miller. Here's Dave Scott.
Standing right here, Doug, by Sam DeRosa. He's looks like more of a foot injury on the right foot, touching the left outside, very tender. Nakia grimaces when he touches down towards the ankle bone. We'll keep an eye on it, but it doesn't look like an ankle sprain per se, more in the area of the foot. Back to you, Doug.
Thank you. Yeah, just moments ago getting rolled in a pile of bodies. Reimold landed on him inadvertently, and Nakia's foot is what took the brunt of it.
No question, and that is a major concern for Jeff Rulon. I mean, let's face it, this guy...
First team all-league performer.
Oh, 15 points a game, 7th in the conference, 4th in rebounding, and, you know, 4th in the United States in field goal percentage, tops and blocks, so major component of his attack.
Brian Carroll at the free throw line for the Greyhounds, senior out of Pittsburgh, PA. As we take another look once again at the injury, you see Nakia come. He landed clean, but then as Reimold went down,
there it is, right there.
Boom, and you can see the look on Nakia's face. He knew immediately that it wasn't good.
He's putting some pressure on it now, so that's a good sign.
Put the sneaker back on and tie it up tight. Keep the swelling down. Jenkins sets a pick for Johnson. Iona jumped out to a 13-0 lead to begin the ball game, and that's pretty much been the difference since. Right now, an 11-point spread as Jenkins misses in close. Southall the rebound for the Greyhounds.
Go, Brian, come on. Back up. Hey, too clear.
Loyola just really trying to work the tempo here.
Leland Matthews is checked into the game for the first time. Jack, senior forward for the Gales. He's number 3, defending Carroll on the post. There's the matchup. Carroll swings it nicely to Southall, who has his shot blocked by the point guard, Earl Johnson. Johnson's look away a little bit tough, and it'll be Loyola ball. We have a timeout. We'll step away from the HSBC Arena in Buffalo. Things are good for the Gales, except Miller's foot not doing so well on the MAAC Television Network. Loyola Greyhounds hanging around, down 11 to the Iona Gales. And let's take a look at the 2001 Chase MAAC Men's Players of the Week as we reminisce a little bit about the season gone by. There you see Nakia Miller, who's out with a foot injury right now. Hopefully be able to get back into the game, but you see the list. Not bad at all. This year's Chase Players of the Week. You don't see Damon Stewart on there. The guy wound up being the Player of the Year. We'll see him later on tonight as Nakia Miller continues to receive treatment. So he had put the sneaker back on, took it off, and gets more treatment again.
Exactly. He looks like he's going to get taped up and try to give it a go.
Now, typically, ball players get their ankles wrapped whether they have an injury or not.
Well, some do, some don't. A lot of them wear those boots now. Nice execution. Again, he talked about plays after timeouts. Scott Hicks does a great job getting his quality shots for his team. And we call that manufacturing shots from the sideline, and does a good job with it.
Leland Matthews, nice offensive rebound, but the giveaway to Jennifer. Cross-court Reimold left alone. He is a dead-eye from downtown.
How about this? Greyhound squad, a 6-0 run. Coming out of the break. Got ourselves a 5-point game.
That's now a 12-2 run here in the second half.
Good timeout by Jeff Rowland. His squad needs it.
Let's go back over to Dave Scott.
Standing right here by Nakia Miller, gentlemen, and Sam DeRosa is taping him back up. He is a guy that does have his ankles taped, Jack, not wearing a boot, so looks like they'll tape him back up. Nakia told me he's okay to go back in. I don't know if he wants to go back in right now. Jeff Rowland very angry, saying the team's lost their focus. Coach Tony Childs in the last full timeout telling the team that they're playing like they're already in tomorrow. There is no tomorrow if they don't win today, and that's the message that Tony Childs was delivering to the team. Back to you, Jack and Doug.
Very intense sideline there, and look, great execution here. Beautiful pass cross-court by Jennifer, right home with the open opportunity. And you're right, Dave. Iona has lost their focus a little bit, and a lot of times, you put it on cruise control. You think you're going to put this team away, but Loyola, as you mentioned, Dave and Doug as well, the fact that they wanted to keep this a slow tempo, and they've done that, and they stayed within striking distance.
Big
Could get both D's out.
Reimold down low.
Humming.
Well, what had been a 5-point lead is back up to 8 after Johnson's 3, and then Reimold whistled for the offensive foul.
Big play there in the post. Tyree Wilson doing a good job. That's a good call. Tyree Wilson getting position inside. So a quick shot by Earl Johnson. Tyree Wilson with the defensive play, and bingo, you're right back in business.
Johnson.
Oh, gorgeous move that time on the ball screen scenario.
He earns a trip to the free throw line.
Earl Johnson doing a good job. Left side, look at him use the ball screen. Jenkins didn't go against the grain. Little spin move, get into traffic, put it up off the window, and it doesn't go, but good recognition that time. The guy guarding him, Damian Jennifer, was cheating high on the ball screen, thinking he was going to go off it. Took it back the other way to the baseline and sliced into traffic. Good heads-up play.
And Jack, we see the physical tools that Earl Johnson has right now, but apparently his senior year of high school in Stamford, Connecticut, he suffered a knee injury and lost a good bit of his athleticism. I can't imagine the kind of ups and moves he would have had before. He's got 13 points so far here this afternoon to lead the Gales. He and Tyree Wilson, the 2 Iona players in double figures so far. Dyrie's got 14. Johnson 1 out of 2.
You know, Johnson's on a tear as well. In his last 70 attempts, he's made a tremendous amount of three-point shots, 39 of them. That's like 59%.
That's over 50 for sure. Even a Fordham graduate can figure out that's more than half.
That's pretty good.
Well, the Greyhounds picking it up offensively, and as I say that, tough shot by B.J. Davis turns into a held ball. And on the possession arrow, it'll come back the other way to the Gales, so it's a turnover.
Exactly. B.J. Davis just forced an issue a tad bit offensively. Don't necessarily need to do that. He had 14 seconds on a shot clock, a few more touches. The clock is your friend. I mean, when you're at Loyola, the best defense is good offense. Ball possession keeps Iona away from the opportunity to score.
Absolutely. Maceo Wofford has come in, as has Leland Norris. Greg Jenkins also back in for the Gales. And Phil Grant, a whole new look for Iona, out there with Leland Matthews. Nice pass inside to Jenkins. Had his shot blocked by Reimold. Loyola ball. Reimold with some help defense to come over and deny the Gales in close.
This is a sweet pass inside, as you mentioned. And Reimold with good help there. Then we had the loose ball, and it was hit last inside by Fields.
2 of the best freshmen in the MAAC going head-to-head on that last exchange. Jennifer into Brian Carroll. Strong to the basket, and Jenkins fouled him.
Heads-up play by Brian Carroll as well. He said, you know what? This guy's a half step behind me. I'm just going to take it to him, draw the foul. The one concern here, Carroll banged up. You know, if you're Scott Hicks, you tell him, hey, stay down, son. You're a 50% free throw shooter.
Here comes Nakia Miller back into the game. The Iona fans from New Rochelle respond to that here in Buffalo as they see their senior center, who's been sitting the last few minutes with a bad foot, getting ready to check back into the game. It'll be interesting to see if Iona maintains a double-digit type lead. Do you play Nakia Miller, or do you think more about tomorrow and the rest of the tournament?
Well, I think when you're on a 3-game losing streak, there is a bit of concern with trying to put it behind you. And I think more than anything else, I think you try to evaluate as you go deeper into the game how good your chances are winning this game. This game is not over. Far from it. I mean,
no, but I'm saying if you're in a double-digit figure lead, you figure, well, it's fairly comfortable at this point. Do we push Nakia? How much do you maybe save and hope that he has a little something left?
I think you make that decision with about 5 minutes left in the game. If you're a double-digit lead at that stage of the game, you got to feel pretty confident with your guard play in particular. Yep. This is a pretty good free throw shooting team. You know, 70% from the free throw line, so you got to feel good about your chances late in the game.
Bad pass by Naciu. Ball back to the Gales. 12:35 to go in the second half from Buffalo. Leland Norris with the basketball.
Loyola doing a solid job playing his 2-3 zone. Remember that Scott Hicks worked at Syracuse for Jim Boeheim, and the Orangemen do a wonderful job with their matchup zone.
Nice move by Phil Grant. A little short on the finger roll. Miller fouled on the putback.
And here's the story on that play. I mean, the penetration by Grant on the baseline. And what happens, though, the green shirts, the help comes over, and it frees up Nakia Miller on the offensive glass. And watch Grant's penetration here. Nasua's got to come over and help. And now, look at 3. There's no one there defined to block out Miller. Miller leaking on the offensive glass.
Miller misses the first. Nakia Miller, 6'9", 210 pounds from Stratford, Connecticut.
His career numbers in the MAAC tournament: 9 points, 9 rebounds. Pretty consistent. Number 9.
He is he's the all-time block shot king in Iona history. Passed Kashif Hamid earlier this year.
Kashif had some career, particularly an incredible junior year at Iona.
Got the player of the year for the conference as a junior. Naciu fouled Wofford, who had position on the rebound.
And here's the frustration. Naciu inside, going strong, missing a shot. Then the foul inside. You know what, too? I mean, you look at Loyola. I mean, I think they've done a nice job keeping this game really slow in tempo, real deliberate. The one problem, though, Doug, is the fact that a team like Loyola, they lack that firepower, and they played. This is, for a lot of these guys, minute number 55 or 60 from yesterday and today combined, and you go through droughts offensively when you're a little bit tired, and you can see it, Loyola making a nice push, and now they've kind of settled back in again.
10 on the shot clock. Maceo Wolford drives on Jennifer, fouled by Carroll.
That time Jennifer got beat off the bounce. Good job by Wolford getting into the lane, and fatigue, I think, starting to set in again for the Greyhounds. Bang, right by him off the bounce. And I think a critical nature of defense is the ability to play your own position. And the more times you allow penetration from a point guard as the defensive point guard, the less effective as a team you're going to be from a defensive standpoint. And I think the better teams out there that you watch at any level can guard that position real well. And it's nice having shot blocking like that man back there as well.
No doubt about it, but he's got 3 fouls now. He and Reimold for Loyola both with 3 fouls. Grant Mack has come back into the game for the Greyhounds. And we've got a rebounding foul against Nakia Miller. That's the 5th team foul against Iona here in the second half. And on Nakia Miller, that's his 2nd personal. It takes us to break. Scott Hicks and the Greyhounds from Loyola down by 11. You're watching the MAAC Television Network.
450 years of Jesuit tradition are woven into a Fairfield University education, an education characterized by academic excellence and service to the community. This success is fostered by a caring faculty that knows their students as individuals. Located just an hour from New York City, Fairfield combines a park-like campus conducive to learning with the city's cultural and career advantages. Fairfield University, where education reflects the challenges and opportunities of a changing world.
Iona 43, Loyola 32, 11:32 left to go here in the second half. And 1 year from now, we'll be back in Albany for the 2002 HSBC MAAC basketball tournament. And you can already buy tickets, 518-487-2000. That's the greatest thing about this country. You can buy tickets to an event a year away.
You know, you speak about location of the tournament. How about the fact that Iona is 1-2 here at HSBC Arena? Their last win was January '97 against yours truly at Niagara. I put a lot of guys on the map. Tim Welch now doing great at Providence.
Yeah, they should all defer part of their big whopping paychecks to Jay Armstrong.
That's right.
Oh, Leland Norris hanging on the rim for the tip back. He knows he did it. Jeff Rulin just rolls his eyes looking at him.
Well, you think about the fact that they've...
You saw Leland smiling. Exactly. He knows. I got caught.
There it is right here.
And then a hang and then a tip.
Good call.
This is not the playground.
And they've had 2 quick exits here at the HSBC Arena, formerly known as the Marine Midland Arena.
Hard to keep up on these arena changes sometimes.
Name changes. Thanks.
Brian Carroll, short. Well, after next year in Albany, the tournament again up for grabs. There will be a new contract, and the Sovereign Bank Arena down in Trenton, New Jersey might be in the mix. The new facility being built in Bridgeport, Connecticut. The new home of the Fairfield Stags might be in that mix, along with Buffalo and Albany.
So we got Sovereign Bank, we got HSBC, we got Pepsi, we got everybody jumping in.
Absolutely. Big bucks. Got to pay your salary, Jack. Tyree Wilson. Wilson's first field goal of the second half. He's got 16 points now. Iona's lead is back to 13. You know, the Greyhounds had cut it to 5, had the ball, couldn't get any closer. Iona has seemed to withstand the run at this point.
You know what they've done, too? They've started to lock in better on the set plays that Loyola's running. You can see they ran a little box play that time. Try to get Reimold freed up inside on a little diagonal screen. And Iona doing a better job guarding the initial play sequence. And now Loyola forced in a scenario like this. Jennifer trying to get to the basket. But when you can take initial things away from people in their offense, and now they have to do things as a reaction of what you force them to do defensively, they're less effective. Jennifer has struggled from the line this year as well, Doug. Yeah, 51%.
And when your point guard is shooting that percentage, that is not a good thing, because he's going to be the guy with the ball in his hands in crucial late game spots.
No question. And, you know, I mentioned earlier, only shooting 17% from the three-point line. So his game is penetration and good hard-nosed D.
And he steals the rebound away from Phil Grant.
As I mentioned earlier, he's 4th in the MAAC at steals, so he's got the quick hands. 4th in assists as well.
Still fresh off arthroscopic knee surgery just a matter of days ago.
It's amazing what they can do. I mean, you can have a knee injury and then you're back at it.
February 15th, he was under the knife, and he's been back for a couple of games now. Misfire, Miller the rebound. Good to see Nakia's got the up still, despite the earlier foot injury. Wilson calls timeout before he goes out of bounds.
I disagree with that call, totally. I mean, let's have common sense come into play here. I mean, the player was going out of bounds. It was a bad pass. How could the player be in control of the ball? Watch this pass. This is not a good pass that's thrown here. Poor fundamental play. This should be a turnover. I mean, there's no question. I mean, I am not a fan of that call whatsoever. And I'm not criticizing the official. It's part of the rule. So the officials are going to call it based upon the way the rule exists. But both feet should be in bounds. The player should be in complete possession of the ball if a timeout is granted. That's my rant for the day. I sound like Dennis Miller.
No. This is a rated G version.
It's a family show.
No,
we do all the Disney stuff on his show.
Jack, you know, though, there's you look
Am I
at
right
Scott
or wrong?
Hicks. Absolutely. Although, from a player's perspective,
it's a heads-up play.
You know, that was a play that 20 years ago nobody did.
That's right.
And now that they do it, everybody does it, and it becomes too much of a deal.
It's cool.
Yes, it is.
It's like the headbands.
You know, the NCAA each year has its points of emphasis, and maybe that's something when they get the officials together late this coming summer, maybe they can work on that.
I'm sure they'll play that clip for me on that play.
Absolutely. How about that? Silky smooth drive to the basket by Earl Johnson.
You know, he can change speeds. He can get in the lane. He knocks down shots. And you know what's tough about him, too? He shoots it so well, you've really got to get out and get into his handle, therefore setting up his ability to get right by you.
Pick your poison.
And that's why it's so important. We're talking about Jennifer, his lack of shooting prowess. It is so important. Good job on the perimeter that time. A little switch on a ball screen. Grant and Wolford on a perimeter. Ball screen, when it's a like screen, when it's a little on a little screen, you can just switch it right away. Good hedge out and switch. But you talk about the fact that I think it's so important for a guard to be able to knock down shots, because the better you are shooting the basketball, it sets up the rest of your game.
Absolutely. Because if the defense doesn't respect your shot, they play off you, slough off, and cover other people. Make your passing lanes much more difficult to find.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome, Coach.
I'm just an ex-coach acting like I know what I'm talking about, which I don't.
Wolford for three.
35% three-point shooter on the season. Good timeout here by Scott Hicks. This baby's getting away from him.
Yeah, it's up to 17 points now for the Gales. Well, the Pepsi Rookie of the Year, we've been watching him here all afternoon in Game 2 of our 4 quarterfinals. His name, not Pepsi, but John Reimold. Oh, we've got the ladies.
Oh.
Liana Jansone. We've got her as our Rookie of the Year on the ladies' side. The Siena freshman center from Latvia. And you know what? The women, the Siena women, are coming up in the next game at 5 o'clock. They're in the semifinals on the women's side. You know, the
nice
men's.
Little segue.
You like that? Flexibility.
Shameless plug.
I don't need to have to talk about John Reimold. I can talk about
Jansone. Talked about him plenty. That's right.
Sure.
Big ladies game coming up at 5 o'clock.
Siena's got a game against St. Peter's at 5 o'clock, and Howard Simon and the gang will be back along while you and I get our dinner break and get rejuvenated for the men's quarterfinal nightcap. What a doubleheader we got coming up for the men, though. We've got the 2 local teams, Niagara against Canisius, and then the big grudge game at 9 o'clock or thereabouts between Siena and Manhattan. The Jaspers swept the Saints. Siena comes in as one of the hotter teams in the league, along with Manhattan, both red hot. So we've got 2 fantastic games coming up.
I agree with you. Tonight's session should be a doozy. And, you know, you talk about winning the regular season title. Look at that man right there, Jeff Rulin. His squad has run it 4 of the last 6 years. And you think about the fact that they've done that. There's only 4 other programs in the entire country to do that. Duke, Cincinnati, Valparaiso, Murray State are the only other 4 teams that have run the regular season title 4 times in the last 6 years. So Iona in exclusive company.
Trying to do it again in the postseason tournament. Could make it 3 out of 4 years going to the NCAA as the representative from the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. And the Gales on a 13-1 run, Jack. This 17-point lead matches their biggest of the game. Back down to 15, a 2-point jumper for Brian Carroll.
Once again, good execution after the timeout. And now Loyola changing things up. They go a little 2-2-1 after the made field goal. Got to get some full court pressure. Now this will speed the game up a tad bit. Decisions on the back end, so important for Iona. You've got the 15-point lead. Don't force the issue. Take good shots.
Traveling violation. The Greyhounds give it back, and Phil Grant also turned his ankle on that last play. He heads to the bench, and we'll take a break. When we come back, there's Mr. Grant. He and the Gales on top by 15 on the MAAC Television Network. Iona 50, Loyola 35, and let's take a look at the Citizens Communications Long Distance Shooter of the Year update. The winner for the second time in his college career at Siena, Scott Knapp held off Michael Schmidt by 3. John Reimold also in the mix, and that brings us to our Men's Rookie of the Year. Mr. Reimold, the Pepsi Rookie of the Year. First-year player for the Greyhounds from Baltimore, 5th in the conference in scoring this season, 15.5 points a game. We haven't really seen Reimold go off so far here today, but you can see flashes. Again, I think fatigue may be part of it, Jack.
No question, and Iona's done a good job being conscious of him. They lost him for a few possessions. That one transition where he made the 3.
Yep.
But on the whole, they've been pretty effective, and now Loyola changing up, going a little 2-2-1 after the timeout. Good decisions. He pulled the ball back out. You've got a 15-point lead, so don't let the defense dictate to you the shot you take. Show your patience and discipline.
Clear out for Fields on the crossover and finger roll.
And I'd say the patience and discipline paid off beautifully, getting Fields the clear out.
Sophomore, first-year player with his first field goal here today. Elbowing foul against Apostolos Nasiu. And that is foul number 5 on Nasiu. You see he got a piece of the face of Courtney Fields. That's the 7th team foul against Loyola, so a shooting situation in the bonus. Nasiu is done.
Courtney Fields now shoots for Iona.
Courtney Fields took a whack there.
Let's see if there's any damage inside. So Artie McDonald's checking out to see if he's all right. Got to make sure it's not bleeding, as you know, with the rule that went in about 10 years ago that you can't play if you have any blood on your body. So the officials were checking out to make sure there was no blood coming out of Courtney's mouth.
Fields on the season, 67% from the free throw line, and think about the fact that he's done well against Loyola Club too. 9 points and 10 rebounds in their 2 meetings, so he's been a steady influence off the bench. And you made a great point earlier about Nakia Miller. He'll graduate. You can count on Courtney Fields next year to be a blossoming star.
Yep. Nice move by B.J. Davis. 9 for B.J. Davis.
He has an explosive step to the lane. Look at B.J. Davis. I mean, a little crossover getting into the lane. Iona playing a little Olay defense on the perimeter. Everybody reaching instead of moving the feet in front of him.
What I liked the most was the great body control.
No question. He is a guy that definitely has a good sense of what the strengths of his game are, and he stays within them. Good-looking player.
Made the all-rookie team along with his teammate, John Reimold. And so, as we talked about and laid out in the first half, the future should be bright for the Greyhounds with the youngsters they have in the program and coming into the program. As Courtney Fields sits down, Phil Grant comes in. A lot of Gales getting nicked up here today. Grant went out with a little ankle problem. Miller sat out for a little while with a foot problem, and there Courtney Fields has something going on in his mouth there, going to be checked out.
Sam DeRosa and J.B. Bono are going to be busy guys tonight. They'll be out enjoying the fine culinary extravaganza here in Buffalo.
Here come the Greyhounds,
of course.
Leland Norris, the block shot. Loyola aching for a goaltending call. It didn't come. Wilson fouled at the other end. Leland Norris laughing to himself on the way back up the court. Looks back over, and Jeff Ruland is staring at him. Let's see again if he was up above the cylinder. Or in the cylinder, I should say. Well,
that is a close call.
You know, that's a tough one to say either way.
From that angle in particular.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have another camera angle, but That's a tough one to get it from.
Leland's certainly a high riser, only 6'2". We've seen him up over the rim a couple of times here this afternoon. Jack, this copyrighted telecast of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, as you know, may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent. You're going to have to do the next one. Express written consent of the MAAC and MAAC properties. Once I screw it up,
I'll fly through it. The next one, you'll see. I'll fly right through it.
Okay. Neither team distinguishing itself here in the second half from the floor, both shooting 33%.
Wow.
Free throws, neither team shooting all that well either. But Iona has been able to maintain that lead that they worked so hard to open up early in the first half, and that's pretty much been the difference.
Exactly. And, you know, you talk about the fact for Iona, if they get a win today, and it looks like they have a good shot at it, this will be their 20th win of the season. They've had 10 years in school history where they've gotten 20 wins. This will be the 11th time they'll do it. The other 10, 6 NCAA bids, 4 NIT bids. So it's a good omen when you get to 20.
Coming in with a record of 19 and 10. They thought they'd beat a 20 a long time ago, having dropped their last 3 regular season games. And it cost them the outright MAAC championship. They led for much of the second half of the season, but on that last weekend, both Niagara and Siena caught up. Actually, on the last week, into the last weekend. And tri-champions.
You know, speaking of good karma, every Iona team that's won 19 games has gone to postseason since 1977-78. Yep. So you think the magic number 20, no matter what happens tomorrow, Monday, does that get them an NIT bid? Remains to be seen. Things get so complicated today with the RPI, the Sagarin, strength of schedule.
Well, if you just looked at records, you would think for NIT consideration, as Damian Jennifer comes in, you would think first Iona, because they're going to get their 20th win, it looks like here. Siena right now has 19 wins, as we've got Damian Jennifer still slow to get up.
Yeah, he's down pretty hard.
But you mentioned Canisius, 18 and 10. Record-wise, you'd think they'd be in the mix, but because of the RPI, strength of schedule, some of these other things that come into play in this day and age, they're probably not going to be considered at this point.
And the NIT, more so than ever, really utilizes the RPI and the strength of schedule. So the dynamics of how you get into the NIT change quite a bit. So and this is a tough league. I mean, everybody beats each other up, so it's so hard to pull away from the pack. So you really need to distinguish yourself in non-conference play in order to truly elevate yourself from the pack.
Quite often, 20 wins is the magic number as we take another look. And again, keep in mind, Damian Jennifer had knee surgery just 2.5 weeks ago. Arthroscopic knee surgery, and obviously came down awkwardly, and
there it is. He grabbed it right there.
Yeah. You can see the look on his face immediately.
Oh, my goodness. Yep, there it is.
Damian Jennifer, junior point guard from Baltimore, Maryland. Now it's gone from pain to frustration on his face. You can see it right there. Well, as Jack and I have reminisced a little bit here in the afternoon, remembering about the 20 years of MAAC basketball, here's a look at the 20th anniversary men's team. Marvin Andrews from St. Peter's, Barley, Bennerman. On and on it goes. Some playing pro basketball still. And Craig Wise from Canisius working from the bottom. Darren Phillip, great rebounding machine over the last few years. Michael Meeks, terrific player out here in Western New York.
Played with the Canadian Olympic team this past summer. Had a great summer with them, by the way.
Diary Wilson. Ryan Dickey has come into the game replacing Jennifer. He's a walk-on for Loyola who has gotten extended minutes here the last month of the season. We did a game at Manhattan College a few weeks ago, Jack, where the man with the ball right now, Ryan Dickey, got the start and played over 30 minutes and played extremely well. Both Glenn Consor and I were overwhelmed by his composure, quickness, and ball handling ability.
Nice pass right there.
For a walk-on. And for a freshman walk-on. Damian Jennifer, his day is done. He's back in the locker room. And so it'll probably be Ryan Dickey the rest of the way. But is this the first time you've seen Ryan Dickey play?
Yes,
Keep an eye on his feel for things. Well, number 23.
That was a beautiful pass he threw right in there. And I love the hairdo, by the way. He's got the headband. I think he's got the headband on as well. That was a sweet pass into the post. Carroll real frustrated with himself.
There you see Brian Carroll.
This could be the final game of his career, and he's had a real good one at Loyola. But that's always been his problem right there. The free throw shooting. He's the career shot block leader at Loyola.
Did you ever have a walk-on in your days at Niagara or Fordham who really got into the mix and wound up being in your regular rotation?
No.
No? It's so rare these days.
I apologize. It just took me a second to think.
No, it's rare. Well, you had a lot of years to think back on.
And I'll probably think of somebody afterwards.
But it's just so tough in this
very
day and
difficult.
age.
You're right. And you know why? Because people do a good job of recruiting evaluations. They don't miss a whole lot anymore with kids.
Yep.
And, you don't find that situation take place often anymore.
B.J. Davis.
You can see, I mean, Wolford did a good job there with the shot contest, and Davis just a little bit tired right now. Again, the game yesterday, and believe me, I'm not trying to explain for Scott Hicks's ball club, but you could see it in their team as the game has gone on, the fatigue just setting in, whereas Iona still efficient with their cuts, moving the ball well, and playing just so much more energetic basketball. As you can see right there, Iona coming up with the loose ball.
Yeah, we should point out it's good to see Nakia Miller seems to be doing all right.
I'm sure David Garrity would have hoped for just a little mild ankle sprain.
Reason
take
being,
the afternoon off
right,
tomorrow.
Reason being, Coach McGarity and the Red Foxes are already in the semifinals, awaiting the winner of this one.
Sorry, Dave. Nakia will be ready to go tomorrow.
Davis the rebound for Loyola. And that's tomorrow afternoon, noon at 2:30 here at the HSBC Arena in Buffalo. The two semifinal games on the men's side. As you see, Scott Hicks coaching right to the end. 4:20 left to go here in the second half. And really, again, 13 points. That's pretty much where it's been right along.
And, you know, even if this game doesn't turn out in the win column for Loyola, what you want to do in your first year as a head coach, and all the time, I mean, you never want to show any quit with your team. And if you lose by 7 instead of 11, you know what? You're 4 points closer to winning.
Yeah.
And you could talk to your team about the fact that, hey, we hung tough with Iona, and we only lost this game by 7 or 8 points rather than 17 or 18. And there's more things you can talk to your team about and say, you know, we're that close to winning if we just do a few different things better.
Better feel going into the offseason. Hey, Jack, let's take a look at today's Pepsi Slam of the game. A couple of the seniors for the Gales looking to go out with a bang. Earl Johnson to Nakia Miller. Pepsi, the joy of Pepsi. They both played very well here this afternoon.
They played very well, particularly Earl Johnson got them going. Just the enthusiasm level, making some shots early, getting people involved in transition. Very impressed.
Nakia has only 5 points, but he's played well in other ways. Earl Johnson, 15 points.
Tyree Wilson's been impressive.
Wilson has 18. Foul against Maceo Wolford. And so the Greyhounds head back to the line. Number 4 on Wolford, and now the double bonus situation. Foul number 10 on the Gales. Jennifer shooting 2. He was in the act of shooting anyhow, so he would have had a couple of shots regardless. Now, good to see.
Thank goodness.
Damien's back in.
Not good. Great to see him. You know, just coming off the knee injury. Give him a lot of credit for battling back. A lot of guys, you know, would shut it down. You're on a losing team and would think more about themselves. And Carroll getting that offensive rebound. And give Jennifer credit.
Boy,
banged up on a team that's really struggled, comes right back.
You know, the first rule of broadcasting is that as a play-by-play and color man, we should not try and diagnose before we get the word. And that time, I'm guilty. It looked like, from his reaction, Damien Jennifer was done for the day. He looked like off of that surgery that he was going to be done, but 5 minutes later he's back.
Sometimes players overreact a little bit too because he knew it was the knee that he hurt, so you get a little more dramatic than necessary. But hey, it's a concern. He takes so much pride in himself and the rehab efforts he made to get back to his club, so concern sets in.
Wilson picks up the foul.
Those are the ones that drive you crazy. 4 seconds on a shot clock. Iona did a solid job defensively there, and now Loyola will get the opportunity to go to the charity stripe to cut this baby below 10 points.
And you can see how Reimold's capable of getting a shot off, able to get a little bit of space with the shot clock winding down. A little bit of the forearm lead, not enough to get called for the foul, but he got himself a little bit of room and to the line.
And he's a legit 6'6", so in this league, you know, at the 3 spot, there's a lot of threes in this league that are 6'3", 6'4", and sometimes in switch scenarios where, you know, he'll come off a screen and another guard will switch out. He's got 3 or 4 inches. You know what? He's shooting right over the top of them. So his size really plays a benefit to him in terms of being able to get his game off and get clean looks at the basket, which is so important in this game.
Kind of like a guy like Brian Clifford a little bit in terms of being bigger than some of the guys you match up. Your former player at Niagara.
Because you have the ability to do things in terms of a perimeter sense, yet your size gives you the ability to shoot over people, more importantly, to see the rim, and it helps your shooting percentage.
Absolutely. We've got a timeout, 3:25 to go in the second. It's a 12-point lead on the MAAC Television Network. This game is brought to you in part by HSBC, your world of financial services. The Pepsi-Cola Company, the joy of Pepsi. Citizens Communications, the official telecommunications company of the MAAC. And by Chase Manhattan Bank, the right relationship is everything. It's an 8-point Iona lead, 3.5 to go as we take a look at the upcoming TV schedule on the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference TV network here at the tournament in Buffalo. Women's semifinal coming up in about 45 minutes or so. And the 2 men's quarterfinals this evening as we head toward the women's championship tomorrow night and the men's championship game on Monday night right here at the HSBC Arena in downtown Buffalo. Iona has gone cold the last 4 minutes. You see no hoops. And 55-47, 8 points, the difference.
Jeff Rulin's got to be concerned. His team floating in and out with their focus, and you know, we call it cruise control. I mean, sometimes you play too much on your talent, and you don't continue to maintain that level of intensity and self-discipline that's so necessary to be successful.
Earl Johnson misfired. Brant Mack the rebound. Did a nice job to get the hand up in Johnson's face, seal out, and get the rebound. But a travel.
Oh, what a play that time. Reimold, freshman mistake, and that's a correct call by Audie McDonald. I mean, Loyola with a chance to truly make an impact here. You know, a basket makes it a 6-5-point game for Loyola. Go figure.
Mack went for the steal, didn't get it.
Let's go.
Grant gives it to Miller. And he lays it in. Knocked out by Carroll, but count the basket.
You know, that time Loyola rolling the dice a little bit, trapping. You know, with the 35-second clock, sometimes you don't necessarily have to do that. You might be better off just playing straight up 5-on-5 and getting a stop. Iona's really struggled to score. You trap, and now you give them more space to operate. It gives them an easier chance to get a score.
Davis around Grant, and he will go to the line to shoot 2.
That might sound like a broken record, but I am really impressed with him. I mean, he's got a good feel for when to put it to the floor, when to give it up, and then moving out the ball, use screens, and he extends when he puts it down and really gets by you on that first bounce.
There's no doubt he was a real good get last year for Loyola.
Shooting 54% from the line. He made the big ones yesterday, though, that got him over the hump.
Yep. Also, in a game against Canisius back late in January, he also was the guy at the free throw line, taking the big shots and making the big shots. Tyree Wilson Doesn't get the roll. Nakia Miller with the little putback. It rolls out. There's Diary Wilson again. Blocked by Reimold. They are battling here in Buffalo. Under 2 minutes to play. Reimold. Rebound, Diary Wilson. Things really getting physical.
Very physical. Reimold misses the shot. He's claiming to Jimmy Hutter, the official, that he was fouled. And then the little extracurriculars here.
Jim Hutter said to the two of them, I was watching you the whole way down in response to Reimold. I was watching and you didn't get hit. So we've got a break in the action before the free throws with 1:44 to go. Timeout is called as Iona trying to hold on for its 20th win of the year. And you know, Jack, you talked about it a little bit earlier. If Iona does win 20, it'll mark the 5th time in 6 years. And it's a feat that the only other schools in the country that have won at least 20 in 5 of the last 6 years, here's the list. Duke, North Carolina, UConn, Syracuse, Maryland, Cincinnati, Kansas, Kentucky, Arizona, Stanford, and UCLA.
And you know, you think about the fact that in the New York metropolitan area, Iona has the top winning percentage. You would think it's St. John's or Seton Hall or Rutgers. No. It's Iona, #1, and then St. John's, and then Hofstra. Jay Wright, by the way, what a job he's done there in the America East Conference.
Trying to get their way into the NCAA this year.
Incredible. NIT 2 years ago, NCAA last year, and they're trying to get their 2nd straight America East title. But Iona, that top program in the New York metro area.
Loyola, meanwhile, on an 11-4 run to trim the lead.
You know, you think of the tradition, you know, Pat Kennedy, we talked about the great players and coaches, you know, Jim McDermott and obviously Jimmy Valvano, Timmy Welch, Pat Kennedy, and all the great players that we spoke about earlier in the broadcast. And, but yet, this is as good an era as they've ever had at Iona. You know, a lot of times old folks, they talk about the good old days. These are the good old days. I think there's a song here.
Although late 70s, before the power super conferences, when you had Ruland and Steve Burt, wouldn't you say that was a better era?
It was a great era. But when you look at the fact that what they've done here in terms of 5 straight 20-win seasons in the last 6, they don't have the big name talent maybe they used to have, but this is as good an era as any that they've had.
Fields 2 for 2.
You know, it's going to come, though, tomorrow and Monday, if they can get there, to truly define themselves as a great team, though. I mean, right now, today, I mean, they've played to the level of the competition. But tomorrow, when they play Marist, they better play a whole lot better than they played today, because they'll go home with an L. Loyola playing on a, you know, back-to-back, having to play the play-in game yesterday. A valiant effort on the part of Scott Hicks' squad.
Definitely giving them plenty to handle.
No question.
And especially after falling behind 13-0, you could have easily seen where Loyola might have just packed it in and said, okay, our season's done, but they've not done that.
And Scott Hicks should be proud of his team and his coaching staff, because the preparation that they've put into this tournament and the level of play that they've played at, you know, it's a springboard for the offseason, you know, in terms of conditioning and weight training and working at your game and individual workouts.
And it sounds trite, but it's true.
Oh, no question. And believe me, you look at the Boston College. Last year, they were last place in the Big East Conference, and they've turned it around completely. They're the top team in the Big East. They're going to the NCAA tournament this year.
Ranked in the top 10 in the country.
So you don't think Scott Hicks is going to mention that to his ball club and say, hey, fellas, we're not that far off?
B.J. Davis beat Grant off the spin move, and then the foul from the help. Fields and Jenkins came over.
You know, because you look at Iona, I mean, here's a beautiful spin move here in the lane. B.J. Davis getting to the rack. But, you know, Iona's going to lose a few players to graduation. Earl Johnson, Nakia Miller, Phil Grant. I mean, Niagara's going to lose a tremendous player in Damon Stewart. Siena is going to lose Scott Knapp, to name a few. I mean, you know, so every year in college basketball, it's not like the pros where unless you lose someone to free agency, where you decide to make a trade or a guy retires, and nobody retires anymore. You got to force them out because the money's so good. So the change, the volatility of college hoops is such that you're not far from the outhouse to the penthouse, and on the and it goes the other way as well.
which we've seen examples of it many, many times over the 2 decades of the MAAC. Wilson goes out. Nice game for Diary Wilson, 18 points. Many of those coming in the first half. Here's Leland dropping it off to Earl Johnson. There's some of the ups we talked about for the 6-foot senior. 17 for Johnson. Reimold misses. Jenkins the board, and Brant Mack, just under a minute to go, gives up the foul. The Iona bench loved that Earl Johnson slam. Kenya Carruthers, Diary Wilson, Nakia Miller, Maceo Wolford, some of the other guys loving Earl Johnson going up
top.
Was he going one hand or two? And he gets it down.
He's got some ups. A little celebration for the cameras. Earl's got the nice do.
You know what? He grew up, much like I did, a fan of Syracuse. Kid grew up in Connecticut, grew up rooting for Billy Owens, Derek Coleman. Got a lot of good things. What are you doing? I'm going to tell you, rolling your eyes. Seriously, nothing wrong with Syracuse.
Louis Orr,
there you
Scott
go.
Hicks, Tim O'Toole, all former Syracuse assistants here, head coaches now in the MAAC Conference.
Former Syracuse fan, Earl Johnson, high fives all around after a terrific ball game here in the MAAC quarterfinals. Reimold blocked by Jenkins. Under 50 seconds to go, and it looks like Scott Hicks is called off, and he fouled. Yep. So they will dribble down. Iona will wind up shooting at least one more time. Shot clock at 22. But the Iona Gales about to move to 20-10 after sharing the regular season title. Courtney Fields just dribbling it down.
Jeff Rowland looks like he's going to take a 35-second violation here. Good sportsmanship. We saw that from Dave McGarity as well. It's a class act. Good sportsmanship. This game's over.
And again, this is also something that we didn't see 15, 20 years ago. That was an NBA thing where teams dribbled down and didn't keep attacking. In college, it always seemed to be fight to the end. And
yeah, but it is. But there comes a point where common sense overrules
absolutely,
that
I think
too,
it's a good thing.
And it lengthens the game, and it makes no sense.
Absolutely. Brian Carroll, the slam. Oh, I totally think it's a good thing. I think it's a change for the veteran college
Plus,
hoops.
we get to go have dinner.
And there's that. Iona, impressive wire-to-wire victory, winning 64-52. The #1 seed moves on to the semifinals here in the MAAC tournament. Our Pepsi player of the game, Earl Johnson, 19 points, couple of steals, couple of blocks, hit some big shots from outside early to open up the lead, Jack.
No question. Big-time performance, Earl Johnson, and he was the catalyst that got them going early in the ball game.
Well, they jumped up 13-0. They wind up winning by 12, and that was the difference in the game. The first 3 or 4 minutes, the Greyhounds got to within 5 on one occasion, but were never able to get any closer than that. We send it over to Dave, standing by with Nakia Miller. Dave.
Thanks, Doug. Nakia Miller, senior year, you're coming out. How you feel about this win, get you back on track?
It's a good win. The last time we were in this building, we caught a loss to Mavericks at the buzzer, so it was a heartbreaking loss my sophomore year, so we just try to come out at the beginning of the game, play real hard to get that loss out of our heads.
You've got ice on the foot now. I know I talked to you off camera. How's it feeling?
It's a little sore right now, but I'm about to go get a toe pad and a bucket and just ice it until tomorrow.
You going to be in there tomorrow?
Oh, no question.
Congratulations. Great game, and good luck tomorrow. Back to you, Doug and Jack.
Thank you, Dave. And Nakia Miller says hi, Mom,
hi,
as
Mom.
he hobbles off the court. Hi, Mom. Hi to everybody back in Connecticut for Nakia Miller. We'll be back to wrap things up here at the HSBC Arena in Buffalo. Marist and Iona will meet in the semis tomorrow. You're watching the MAAC Television Network. Back in Buffalo, midway through the quarterfinals for the men here at the HSBC MAAC tournament. Iona, the top seed, moves on to the semis, beating Loyola 64-52. Welcome back, everybody, along with Jack Armstrong. This is Doug Sherman. Give Loyola credit, but also give Iona credit. The bullseye squarely on their chest, and they were able to get through that first-round game.
They sure did. You know, the old line, and Jim Valvano, the late Jim Valvano, who coached at Iona, had the great line, survive and advance. And that's what Iona did today. I mean, there were times that they played to the level of the competition, but you got to give Scott Hicks and his staff a lot of credit. His kids, they played their tails off after a huge win yesterday against Fairfield. So a positive effort to finish the season for Loyola in spite of fatigue. And more importantly for Iona, you somehow get off the schneid. You've lost 3 in a row to finish the season. A new season. You don't play great, but you play well enough in stretches to say, you know what, we're back. We're on our way back. And now the big game begins to, the focus begins to take place now. You play Marist tomorrow. That will be a fun ball game.
We take a look at the brackets as Iona picks up its 20th win and goes on to face the Red Foxes. We heard Nakia Miller reference 2 years ago. It was the Red Foxes who took the Gales out of the tournament.
It's sure. And, you know, guys, don't forget that stuff. And no doubt, tomorrow, that will be talked about. And more importantly, tonight will be talked about when they sit down and go over the game plan for the Red Foxes tomorrow.
Now, we're going to go off the air in just a minute or two and then be back on at 5 o'clock. Here's the rest of the MAAC tournament television schedule. The women's semifinal between Siena and St. Peter's coming up at the top of the hour, so about 31 minutes from now. We'll be back with the men's quarterfinals this evening at 7 o'clock and then at 9 o'clock. You've got Canisius and Niagara in that first men's game tonight, and then Siena versus Manhattan in the nightcap.
Should be a great night. Looking forward to it.
Time for dinner and a little bit of a break. We'll be back with the rest of Saturday action here on the MAAC Television Network of the 2001 HSBC MAAC Tournament. Iona survives behind the Pepsi player of the game, Earl Johnson, to move on to the semis. For Jack Armstrong and our entire crew, we'll see you again in about 30 minutes on the MAAC Television Network.